As Kane's senses slowly returned, he was engulfed in a haze of confusion. The last thing he remembered was a blinding flash of light before everything faded to darkness. Now he found himself in a strange environment, with heavy metallic cuffs binding his hands and cold shackles holding his feet firmly against the smooth floor. In front of him loomed two figures, humanoid yet distinctly alien. The first was tall and imposing, her skin glimmering with a soft, ocean-like blue hue. Her long, flowing blonde hair cascaded down her back, and her sharp black eyes exuded authority and power. Dressed in an intricately woven silver gown that flowed like liquid metal, she wore a crown that was both delicate and fearsome. This was no ordinary woman. She was the queen, the ruler of this alien realm, her presence commanding and sending chills down Kane's spine. Next to her stood a younger woman, her wide, curious eyes fixed on Kane. In contrast to the queen, the princess had deep black hair that contrasted beautifully against her blue skin. Her vibrant green eyes sparkled with a blend of wonder and mischief. Dressed in a simple, deep violet robe, she nonetheless radiated an undeniable aura of power. "You are Kane, a man from Earth. I have observed your kind for many cycles," the queen stated, her voice steady as she began pacing. "We are far advanced in knowledge, technology, and power. Yet, there is something about humans that intrigues us." Kane clenched his fists, the cold metal biting into his skin. "Why am I here?" he croaked, his voice hoarse. A faint, unreadable smile curved the queen's lips. "You are here because my daughter, Princess Taylor, has reached a significant stage in her life. She is now of age to learn about the complexities of other species, and Earthmen are particularly captivating to her." Kane's heart raced under the weight of the princess's gaze. Looking into her green eyes, he sensed something unsettling. It wasn't mere curiosity, but a deeper hunger, a desire to understand, and perhaps even to possess him. "I won't do it," Kane said, his voice gaining strength. "I refuse to be a part of your experiment. I'm not some test subject." The queen raised an eyebrow, amusement flickering across her face. "Ah, resistance. A fascinating trait of your species. But understand this. This isn't a request." She stepped aside, allowing the princess to move closer, her sharp gaze still locked onto Kane. Taylor reached out with her slender blue fingers, brushing against his arm. Kane tensed at her cold touch as she leaned in, her face inches from his. "I want to know everything," she whispered, her voice soft yet filled with longing. "What makes you human?" Kane jerked his arm away, his eyes narrowing. "You won't find out from me." Taylor tilted her head, a flicker of disappointment crossing her features. She turned to her mother, speaking in a quick, sharp language. The queen nodded in response before addressing Kane once more. "You will live with Taylor. You will teach her about your kind, willingly or not. You cannot escape this place. You are within my domain, and I control all." Kane's defiance wavered as the reality of his situation settled over him like a suffocating shroud. The queen turned to leave, her presence lingering heavily in the air. "Taylor," she called over her shoulder, "take care of him. He is yours now." With that, the large door slid shut behind her, leaving Kane alone with the alien princess. Taylor's green eyes flickered with excitement and uncertainty as she stepped closer. Placing her hand gently on his chest, her touch was inquisitive, as if she were trying to grasp something beyond her reach. "You fear me," she said softly, "but I don't want to harm you." Kane glared at her, his breath quickening. "I don't want to be here. I'm not some pet for you to play with." Taylor blinked, tilting her head as if processing his words. "I'm not trying to make you a pet," she replied slowly. "I just want to learn. There's so much I don't know about your world, about you." Kane shook his head, pulling back as much as his restraints would allow. "I'm not going to be your science project." The princess sighed, her hand falling to her side. "It doesn't have to be like this," she murmured. "We can learn from each other." But Kane remained silent, his mind racing with thoughts of escape, of home, of the life he had just lost. He refused to be a pawn in their game, no matter how powerful they were. Taylor stayed true to her word. She hadn't harmed him or forced him into anything, but she was always present, always watching, always asking questions. Day after day, she became more fascinated by the smallest details of human life. What Earth food tasted like, what emotions felt like, why humans laughed or cried. At first, Kane had refused to answer her questions, offering only silence in return. But as time passed, he found it increasingly difficult to resist her curiosity. It wasn't just the alien technology that kept him trapped, it was Taylor herself. One evening, Taylor stood before him in their shared chamber, her green eyes piercing as she studied him. An intensity surrounded her, an unsettling fascination that unnerved Kane. "Why do you resist me?" she asked softly, stepping closer. "Why do your kind make things so complicated?" Kane stood up, anger surging within him. "Because this isn't right. You don't get it? Just because you're curious doesn't give you the right to force me into something I don't want." Taylor's expression darkened, her usual gentleness replaced by a perplexed determination. "Force?" she echoed, seeming genuinely puzzled by the concept. "You misunderstand. I want to understand you. How your body feels, how your mind reacts." Kane stepped back, his muscles tense. "I told you I won't be part of that. I'm not an experiment." Taylor tilted her head, her green eyes narrowing. "You are different from the others we've observed. So difficult to read, so complex." She moved closer, reaching out to touch his arm with her cold fingers. "I don't want to hurt you, Kane. I just want to know." He yanked his arm away sharply. "I don't care what you want. I'm not here for your pleasure or curiosity." For the first time, Taylor's expression shifted, frustration surfacing in her eyes. "I have been patient with you, Kane, but you must understand, you cannot resist forever. I can't let you." Before Kane could respond, a sharp pain shot through his neck, and his vision blurred. As his body grew heavy, he collapsed to the floor, the last thing he saw being Taylor standing over him, her eyes glowing with determination. Kane awoke with a jolt, groggy and disoriented. His limbs felt heavy, weighed down. Blinking slowly, he realized with dread that he was once again restrained, thick, cold chains binding his wrists and ankles to a large, curved platform that tilted him backward, forcing him into an upright position. His heart raced as he struggled against the chains, but they were too tight. He looked around the dimly lit chamber, recognizing the same ethereal glow that had filled the palace since his arrival. But this room felt different, colder, more clinical. It resembled a laboratory. The door slid open with a soft hiss, quickening Kane's pulse as Taylor entered, her expression calm yet intense. Two guards followed silently, their eyes fixed ahead, awaiting orders. "Let me go," Kane growled, his voice hoarse from the drug that had incapacitated him. Taylor waved the guards away, and they obeyed without question. The door hissed shut behind them, leaving just the two of them. "I gave you a chance, Kane," Taylor said quietly as she stepped closer. "I didn't want it to come to this." Kane's breath quickened as he instinctively pulled against the chains, though he knew it was futile. "You think chaining me up will change anything?" His voice was sharp, defiant, even as fear coursed through him. Taylor stopped a foot away, her green eyes glowing in the dim light. She tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "I wanted to learn from you willingly," she said softly, "but your resistance is irrational. Humans are so emotional, so ruled by feelings and instincts. I've studied your kind, yet you continue to surprise me." Kane met her gaze, his jaw clenched. "Because we're not toys. We're not things you can just poke and prod until you get what you want." Taylor reached out, gently touching his face, her fingers cold against his skin. Kane flinched and turned his head away, but the chains held him in place. "You don't understand, Kane. I need to know, and you are the only one who can teach me." "I'm not teaching you anything," he spat back. Taylor sighed, her fingers trailing down his neck. The tension in the room felt suffocating. "I won't force you into anything," she said, though a darkness lingered in her tone, sending shivers down his spine. "But you will eventually give me what I need." Kane's heart raced as he struggled to process the gravity of his situation. Bound and helpless, he met Taylor's piercing gaze, trying to find a way to resist, to bargain for his freedom. The air between them crackled with tension, a mixture of fear and an inexplicable connection that he couldn't quite understand. Taylor stepped back slightly, giving him space, but her eyes remained fixed on him, a mixture of curiosity and frustration etched on her features. "You need to see this from my perspective," she urged, her voice softer now, almost pleading. "I'm not like the others. I want to understand, to learn. I'm not here to hurt you." Kane scoffed, anger bubbling within him. "You call this learning? You're keeping me captive. How is that not hurting me?" A flicker of hurt crossed Taylor's face, but she quickly masked it with resolve. "I didn't choose this, Kane. My mother has plans for me, for our people. This is part of my training, part of my destiny." "Your destiny?" Kane shot back, incredulous. "Is your destiny to imprison others? What kind of ruler does that make you?" Taylor's eyes narrowed, her frustration evident. "You don't understand. I'm expected to lead, to make decisions that affect millions. This knowledge is vital for my role, and I believed you would help me." Kane leaned back against the cold platform, letting her words sink in. Despite the circumstances, he could sense her sincerity. "You can learn without torturing me. There has to be another way," he said, his voice quieter now. Taylor crossed her arms, her black hair falling over her shoulders as she considered him. "What do you propose?" she asked, skepticism lacing her tone. "If you want to learn about humanity, why not ask me questions? Let me explain things to you without these chains," Kane suggested, hope creeping into his voice. "If you genuinely want to understand, then maybe we can find a way to do this together." Taylor hesitated, her expression shifting. "You would willingly share your knowledge?" Kane nodded, trying to gauge her reaction. "Yes, but you need to let me go first. I can't teach you anything while I'm bound like this. Trust me, if you want to learn about Earth and its people, I'll help you." She regarded him intently, her green eyes searching his for honesty. "You expect me to just trust you after what has happened? I expect you to see that keeping me chained is only going to breed resentment," Kane replied earnestly. "You said you don't want to harm me. If you really want to learn, then show me that you can." Taylor took a step back, her fingers brushing against her chin as she pondered his words. "It would be unprecedented," she mused. "No Earthman has ever been allowed such freedom in my presence. My mother would never permit it." "Then let's make it a negotiation," Kane suggested, feeling a spark of hope. "If I refuse to cooperate, your mother can keep me locked up. But if I agree to help you, you have to convince her to allow me some freedom." Taylor's eyes lit up, but doubts still lingered. "What if you try to escape?" "I won't," Kane assured her, meeting her gaze steadily. "If I'm free to talk to you, to teach you, I have no reason to run. Besides, I don't even know where I am. I'd just be lost. You have my word." After a long pause, Taylor finally nodded, a glimmer of determination in her eyes. "Very well, Kane. I will speak to my mother. But I need you to understand, this is a delicate situation. If she refuses, there may be consequences." Kane took a deep breath, trying to suppress the rush of anxiety that washed over him. "Just try, Taylor. That's all I'm asking." Taylor moved closer, her expression softening. "I will do my best," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "But for now, I cannot release you completely. If you promise to cooperate, I'll unlock your hands. You will still be restrained, but at least you can move." Kane considered her offer, his heart racing with a mix of hope and caution. "I'll take it," he agreed. Taylor stepped forward and carefully unclasped the cuffs around his wrists, her fingers surprisingly gentle. As the cold metal fell away, a sense of relief washed over Kane. He flexed his fingers, feeling the warmth return to his skin, but his legs remained shackled, a constant reminder of his precarious situation. "Thank you," he said, meeting her eyes. "Now, where do we start?" Taylor's expression brightened, her curiosity reignited. "Let's begin with your planet. Tell me about Earth. What is it like?" Kane hesitated for a moment, unsure of where to begin. "It's beautiful, really, a mix of landscapes and cultures. We have mountains, oceans, forests." As he spoke, Taylor leaned in, her eyes sparkling with fascination. He found himself becoming animated, describing the vibrant cities, the diversity of life, the emotions and experiences that shaped humanity. Taylor listened intently, absorbing every word, her expression shifting from wonder to admiration. For the first time since his capture, Kane felt a sense of connection. Perhaps this was the beginning of something unexpected, a chance to share his world and learn more about hers in return. As the conversation flowed, Taylor peppered him with questions, her enthusiasm infectious. The weight of his situation felt a little lighter, and Kane began to see Taylor not just as a captor, but as a curious young woman seeking to understand a world beyond her own. Hours passed, and eventually they settled into a comfortable rhythm. The tension between them softened, replaced by an unspoken bond forged through shared stories. Kane's mind flickered with the hope that perhaps, through their connection, he could find a way back home. Just as the atmosphere turned more relaxed, the door slid open with a hiss, and the Queen entered the room. Her presence was imposing, and Kane felt a rush of apprehension wash over him. "Taylor, what is happening here?" the Queen demanded, her black eyes narrowing as they landed on Kane, who instinctively straightened in response. Taylor stood tall, a determined expression on her face. "Mother, I've been speaking with Kane. He has agreed to help me learn about his kind, and I believe it could be beneficial for both of us." The Queen's gaze flicked between them, skepticism etched in her features. "And you think this is wise? Allowing an Earthman to influence you? He's not like the others," Taylor insisted, her voice steady. "He wants to share his knowledge. If we can understand him, we might uncover valuable insights for our people." Kane watched as the Queen's expression shifted, considering her daughter's words. After a long moment, she spoke, her tone cool but contemplative. "Very well. You will have your chance, Taylor. But know this. If he tries to escape or betrays your trust, there will be consequences." Taylor nodded, a flicker of determination in her eyes. "I understand, Mother. I won't let you down." The Queen turned her gaze to Kane, her expression inscrutable. "You may have this opportunity, Earthman, but I will be watching closely. You are not as safe as you believe." As she left the room, the tension returned, but Taylor quickly turned to Kane, her eyes alight with excitement. "This is our chance, Kane. We can learn together, and perhaps we can convince my mother to trust you." Kane felt a spark of hope rekindle within him. "Yes, let's make the most of it." And with that, their unlikely partnership began, a bridge between two worlds, tethered by a shared thirst for understanding and the desire for freedom. The days turned into weeks, and the palace became a strange blend of both prison and sanctuary for Kane. Taylor was his only company, and each session they shared revealed more about their respective worlds, slowly forging an unexpected alliance. As they delved deeper into discussions about Earth, its cultures, traditions, and emotions, Kane found himself growing more comfortable in Taylor's presence. Despite her alien nature, her curiosity was genuine, and it often led to moments of unexpected laughter, breaking through the tension that had initially defined their relationship. Today, as Taylor entered the chamber, a bright smile graced her lips, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders like a waterfall. "Kane," she exclaimed, her green eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I have something special for you." "What is it?" Kane asked, intrigued. "I've been experimenting with Earth cuisine," Taylor announced proudly, revealing a small tray she carried. On it were various items that resembled fruits and pastries he had described. "I wanted to create a meal that embodies your world." Kane's stomach grumbled at the sight of the colorful array. "You've been cooking?" he asked, genuinely surprised. "Of course. I wanted to understand more about your culture. Food is such an important part of it," she said, setting the tray down between them. He leaned in, eyeing the dishes. "What did you make?" "Let's see." Taylor pointed to a round, orange fruit. "This is a peach. You said it's sweet and juicy." Then she gestured to a small, golden pastry. "And this is a cinnamon roll. You described it as comforting and delicious." Kane chuckled, feeling a warmth spread through him. "You've done well. How did you manage to create these?" "I used the resources available in the palace. Some of our ingredients are different, but I think I captured the essence of what you described," she replied, excitement bubbling in her voice. Kane took a piece of the cinnamon roll and took a cautious bite. The flavor was rich and surprisingly close to what he remembered. "This is amazing," he exclaimed, his face lighting up. "You really have a knack for this." Taylor beamed, her cheeks flushing with pride. "I'm glad you like it. I want to keep learning, to understand everything about your world, even the small things that matter." As they shared the meal, the atmosphere shifted from that of captor and captive to something more akin to friends. Laughter punctuated their conversation as they talked about favorite Earth activities, movies, music, and the sheer joy of feeling the sun on one's skin. But amidst the comfort, Kane couldn't shake the weight of his situation. He was still a prisoner, even if Taylor treated him with kindness. As they finished the meal, he took a deep breath, deciding it was time to confront the elephant in the room. "Taylor, I appreciate everything you've done, but I still feel trapped here," he said, his voice serious. She looked at him, concern flickering in her eyes. "I know, but my mother is keeping a close watch on everything. I need to prove to her that you can be trusted before she considers giving you more freedom." Kane leaned back against the wall, frustration creeping in. "What if I can never earn that trust? I don't want to live my life in chains, even if you treat me well. I need to know there's a way out." Taylor nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I understand your feelings, but right now, my mother's plans for me are rigid. If I can show her how important your knowledge is, perhaps she will relent. You have to trust me." Kane took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. "Okay, I'll trust you. But I need more than just trust. I need a plan." "Then let's create one together," Taylor said, her eyes shining with determination. "We can work on how to present your knowledge to my mother in a way that will impress her. If we can convince her of your worth, she might allow you more freedom." Kane felt a spark of hope ignite within him. "What do you suggest?" Taylor leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "We need to show her that your knowledge can enhance our civilization. There are countless technologies and ideas on Earth that we could adapt. If we present a project, something tangible, it might change her mind." "Like what?" Kane asked, intrigued. "Perhaps we could create a presentation about renewable energy. You mentioned how Earth is shifting to sustainable sources, solar, wind, and hydroelectric power. If I can present that to my mother, it might pique her interest," Taylor suggested. Kane's mind raced as he considered the possibilities. "That could work, but I'll need resources, materials to explain how these technologies function." Taylor's expression shifted to one of determination. "I'll speak to the palace engineers. I can convince them to provide some basic tools and supplies. If we work together, I know we can create something impressive." Kane felt a rush of adrenaline at the prospect. "This could be our chance, but we have to be discreet. If your mother catches wind of our plans before we're ready, it could backfire." Taylor nodded, her brow furrowing in thought. "I'll ensure we keep our discussions private. For now, let's focus on gathering what we need." As they began discussing the specifics, Taylor's enthusiasm reignited Kane's spirit. The prospect of a project, a tangible goal, made the oppressive weight of his captivity feel a little lighter. He was no longer just a captive. He was becoming a collaborator. With each passing day, they gathered materials and researched Earth's innovations, building their presentation with care. Taylor's intelligence and creativity impressed Kane as she adapted Earth concepts to fit her world, seamlessly blending both their knowledge bases. However, the looming presence of the Queen remained a constant reminder of the stakes at hand. As they worked, Kane couldn't shake the feeling that they were playing a dangerous game, but he also realized that he was developing a deep respect for Taylor. Her determination was infectious, igniting a sense of purpose within him. One afternoon, as they reviewed their project, the door slid open, revealing the Queen. Her presence commanded attention, and both Kane and Taylor immediately straightened, the tension palpable in the air. "What is this?" the Queen demanded, her eyes narrowing as they fell upon the materials spread across the table. "You have been busy, I see." "Mother, Taylor began, but the Queen raised her hand, silencing her. "Do not lie to me, Taylor. What are you planning?" Kane's heart raced. This was it, the moment of truth. He took a step forward, feeling the weight of the Queen's gaze upon him. "Your Majesty, I can explain." The Queen's expression remained unreadable as she scrutinized him. "Speak quickly, Earthman." We've been working on a presentation to showcase Earth's advancements in renewable energy, Kane said, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. If I can demonstrate the potential benefits for your people, it might convince you that I can be of value here. The Queen's brow furrowed as she processed his words. You think I will allow you to present your ideas to my court? If it demonstrates the potential for progress and understanding between our worlds, it could be worth considering, Kane replied, trying to maintain eye contact. I believe that cooperation can lead to a brighter future for both our peoples. Taylor stepped beside him, her eyes pleading. Mother, please. If Kane can show you the advantages of these technologies, it could change everything. This is our chance to bridge the gap between our worlds. The Queen remained silent, her gaze penetrating as she weighed their words. Kane could sense the tension thickening in the air. He held his breath, hoping that he had made an impression. Finally, the Queen sighed, her posture relaxing ever so slightly. Very well. You may present your ideas, Earthman. But know this. If you fail to impress me, there will be consequences. Kane felt a rush of relief wash over him, but he knew the challenge ahead would be immense. Thank you, Your Majesty. I promise you won't regret this. As the Queen turned to leave, Taylor looked at Kane with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. This is our moment, Kane. We have to prepare. Absolutely, Kane replied, adrenaline coursing through him. Let's make this presentation the best it can be. With renewed energy, they dove back into their work, knowing that the upcoming presentation could change everything. The stakes had never been higher, and Kane felt a flicker of hope, a chance not only to gain his freedom, but to build a bridge between two worlds. In the heart of the alien palace, a new alliance was forming, one that could reshape their futures in ways neither of them could yet imagine.